Welcome to the PastieCast, news, reviews and previews from around Northern Ireland. This is NI in a nutshell.
And welcome to the PastieCast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Laura.
And this month we're going to be looking at everything around Northern Ireland, news, reviews and previews from the month before and the month ahead. We are currently drinking some delicious coffee that I got from Coffee Week at the Mac. I done a masterclass. Coming up, we have some music from Malibu Shark Attack. We also have some music from Escobar. I also done an interview with Sharon from the Mac about Coffee Week, and I done an interview with Ed from Bright Bricks, who was building the Titanic replica in the middle of Victoria Square. And first of all, I asked him the most obvious question, which was,
do you get free Lego now that you are certified by Lego?
Sadly, no.
And you can hear a bit more of that later on, but I thought I'd get that one out of the way because when I told Laura I had interviewed him, she had asked, does he get free Lego? And I had to tell her, sadly, no, he did not.
Lego's expensive nowadays too. You think that they would maybe subsidise them or something?
Well, he gets it sort of cost or something like that there, plus he gets to order whatever he wants, and he gets big boxes, so he doesn't have to buy sets, so that's good. But then I thought, perhaps, not getting a set, it wasn't as exciting, because it's part of the fun. Anyway, so we're going to start looking at the month that was May, and we start off with Free Comic Book Day. We had on our site our artist in residence, Paul, aka theskeletonblog.com, done us he was doing a comic in a day, so he managed to churn that one out, and that's still available on the site. If you just search for Comic Book Day or the Skeleton Blog on the site, you can see that there. Next up, for the month of May, we had a show report for PW Wrestling at the Holiday in Belfast. This was a brilliant show. One of the main highlights of it was the 7-foot giant Tron, who was a WWE developmental prospect at one time, done like a sit-down running slam of a 12-year-old girl in the middle of the ring. How do you feel about that, Laura?
It sounds awful. I don't even know how that would work.
She was one of the people they're training. They have a training skill. So one of the people they're training was like these young girls. I don't think she was 12, but she looked 12. And he went mental because he lost 2 matches in a row. And he just grabbed the wee girl and he put her up on his shoulder. And he just like sat down on his arse and she fell off. And literally everybody went quiet. And with wrestling, it's hard to shock people because it is kind of set up. It's like watching the soap opera. But then like soap operas, sometimes it hits you and you go, what? He actually did just slam like a 12-year-old girl. So there was that. And also one of the main babyfaces. Babyfaces are good guys in wrestling, for those who don't know. JDP, he turned heel. Heels are baddies in wrestling, for those who don't know. And he ran off with the belt. He was fighting Tucker, who is like the homegrown hero sort of thing. And he defeated him with a dodgy referee, and he ran off with the belt out the fire escape. And it was there was a lot of internet chatter and stuff like that there. People were getting very excited about it, so that's great. They also have another show coming up at the end of this month, 29th at the Holiday Inn. It's well worth it. It was a fiver in, and I went to WWE this month as well, and it was like 27, and that was like the cheapest. We've done an album review from Malibu Shark Attack, and you can have a listen to other tunes right now we're going to play for you, and then we'll come back after that there with a little bit more about their album.
Man, I hate it when my favorite bands go on indefinite hiatus and later announce a new side project. They may be done, what if I'm not yet? Now I know that you think that I might not get what you're going through, but I totally do. That chip on your shoulder's a boulder I'm moving to show and to prove that I know what I'm doing. And I ain't even aiming to brag when I say I'm amazing at rap, cause I'm honing my craft every moment I have, so it's only a statement of fact. And see, Rocky's still making that poster with prog electronica, indie-core synth pop, and he said to put on it whatever I wanted, but all I could think of was hip-hop. And I promise that I'll never lie on a track, cause diamonds and gold are not why I'm in rap. I want you to know that I'm trying to act like an honest adult with a spine in my back. If you give it a listen and hate it, that's fine. I'll be grateful and thank you for trying. I'm honestly sorry I wasted your time, unless maybe you're changing your mind. This isn't rock and roll, this sounds so thrown together. What happened to Oppenheimer? I like their old stuff better. This isn't real hip-hop, this is some new bold endeavor. What happened to the remnant? I like their old stuff better. So sorry to break your heart, never meant to be the one who would tear this apart, and I'm sorry if I let you down. One night it's just a me, the other sound I'm left to
So that was Malibu Shark Attack, who sadly I didn't get a chance to go and see when they were playing live, but a great album. Laura, you hadn't heard of them before it was on the site?
No, I never heard of them, but I sort of had a listen to them after I read the review that you'd written, and I really, really like them. They're really different.
They are transatlantic. So one guy, the rapper, is from Atlanta, Georgia, and then Rocky O'Reilly, who you would know from doing stuff with Oppenheimer, and he does stuff with BMXC and lots of stuff, and they done it sort of across the internet, I guess. And then Tim Wheeler from Ash done the guitars and stuff on it, and Emer Recoil from Wonder Villains sings on it, and if you know any more old school rap, there's like the Ugly Duckling guys are on it, and MC Lars, who's a nerdcore rapper and stuff, was on it. Really good album, worth checking out. Went to see the Demented at the Lyric, which was a great comedy heist romp, written by Guy Mitchell, Belfast playwright. Very funny, very cutting, great stuff, and look forward to seeing more stuff from him. That's the first thing I've seen from him, and always great to go to the Lyric, lovely place. Next up is Laura's Time to Shine, Katy Perry.
Yeah, I went to see Katy Perry. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of her, but I thought I'd at least check it out. These things usually have quite a high production value, so you know you're going to see a good show, and it was amazing. I can't help but say that. There was everything, costume changes, giant air balloons that went out into the crowd. It was non-stop. It was a really good show.
So you a convert?
Mm.
Just the concerts?
Well, do you know what? I actually caught myself singing along on the radio yesterday, so I would say maybe.
And how much was a ticket for that?
I think it was about 30, something like that.
Oh, that's not bad. Some of them get their, like Lady Gaga last time, I think it was like 60 for the cheapest ticket or something at the Odyssey. Positive Spy, this great thing that we put up for part of Northern Ireland, which is our viral section of the site, and it's basically on Vine, the wee 6-second video clip site. Spy going by, I presume it's in like a course or something, shouting positive messages. Like one of the things he shouted was, you can't have a rainbow without the rain, as he's going by sort of drunk people in the street, and sometimes people catch on and react well, and sometimes they just shout like up your ma or something like that back afterwards. But it's really funny. I ended up spending quite a lot of time, far more time than I should have, going through them. And then next up was our pick of the week, Lego Brick City at Titanic Belfast. We both have still not got to this, but I did speak to Ed from Bright Bricks, who was building the replica of the Titanic building in the middle of Victoria Square. So here's a bit of an interview with him.
Hi, this is Chris here for PastieCast, and I am here with Ed, who is from Bright Bricks, who is building the replica of the Titanic building in the middle of Victoria Square. Ed, how did you come to be doing this here in the middle of Belfast?
We were contacted by the Titanic Museum, who wanted to have a model of the museum built out of Lego bricks to sit with the other models which are in the Brick City show, which is going on through June and July, from the middle of May to the end of July at the museum. So we're building a scale replica of the museum itself to sit within the museum.
Do you know approximately how many bricks and how much time it'll take to finish this replica of the Titanic building off?
It uses about 25,000 bricks. It will have taken us around 3 weeks in total to build it. We started out back at our workshop. We've got about 8.5 million bricks in a big industrial workshop in England, where we actually started building it. Did a lot of planning and laying out, and then we brought it out here to obviously finish doing it as a sort of live build exercise here at the shopping centre.
And I think the most obvious question is, how do you end up building Lego for a living?
I started out loving Lego as a child. I played with it in childhood, got it for every birthday and Christmas was always Lego sets. Wouldn't really accept anything else as a present. Went off to university, did the normal things that most people do, and then in my adulthood started collecting things like some of the Lego Star Wars sets, fell back in love with it, joined the UK Association fan club for people who are into Lego, the British Association, and that's where I met my business partner Duncan. He's the only Lego certified professional in the UK, which means he has a contract with Lego that specifies what we're allowed to do, but also enables us to benefit from publicity through them, from buying bricks, etc. And I joined the business, became co-owner and director of the company. The last 2 years I've been globe-trotting all over the place, in Qatar and Dubai and Brazil, Finland, all sorts of places, building Lego models and doing commissions and things for companies all over the world.
Can you tell me just a little bit more about the exhibition that's on in the Titanic Centre?
The tour's called Brick City. It's got 72 different buildings from all around the world. It's based on also a book of the same subject, compiled by a gentleman called Warren Elsmore. He's pulled together a whole series of buildings. A lot of them are ones he's built himself. He's got a huge model of St Pancras Station there. There's also a model of Westminster Abbey, which was originally built for the royal wedding. It has sort of minifigs, the little Lego scale people, so it's built to that size, which makes it over 3 metres long, 1.5 metres tall, got about 180,000 bricks in it. I built the west front of that. There's a couple of other builders, Stuart Crawshaw, Naomi Farr, who are over there helping set it up now, and my wife built a lot of the windows in it as well, so there's a sort of 4-person team in that. That was originally the brainchild of Warren. So there's if you go to the Titanic Museum, get a ticket, go and see it, it's a fantastic display. You won't be disappointed. There's hundreds of models and 72 different elements to the display.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll be popping along at some point this month to do a review on Brixley that's on the Titanic till 17th of July. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
And that was Ed there from Bright Bricks, who is no longer in the middle of Victoria Square. He is, I guess, probably way back home, but you can see the replica of the Titanic building in the Titanic building. That's kind of like a Titanicception thing. Till July 17th, I think it is. I think it's about £5 in, and if you buy that, I think you get discount on your ticket to the museum if you haven't been yet. But if you haven't been yet, you know, why the hell have you not been to the Titanic Museum? Moving on with the rest of the month. This was an old article that we had on our site that hadn't been put up, so we kind of updated it and put it back on. That was the top 5 city centre shopping bars. That was a look at like the bars when you're out having a shop in Belfast that you can stop in and have a pint. There didn't used to be too many that you would want to go in, but now there's a great bunch of bars that are cropping up, especially with the help from the Cathedral Quarter, but around Victoria Square and Royal Avenue and that sort of stuff, so that's worth having a look at. Also done a single review for Kaz Hawkins, which is a great single. It's
called Can't Afford Me, and I had sort of seen the name Kaz Hawkins about sort of on the internet, on Twitter and things like that, but I never really actually investigated it. And the single, it's really good. It's actually got a video for it as well.
That was shot in Cabaret Supper Club. Yep. Laura's not sure.
I'm just trying to look at it here.
No, I knew.
I actually recognised bits of it as you said that.
I knew as soon as I saw it. Another thing we featured was a photography special from Neil Carey, who is our resident photographer. He's recently moved to Derry, and he does some amazing shots around Northern Ireland. And another thing he does is he takes the photos and he puts weird things in. So he has a knack of putting bunny rabbits in. It's like one of his signature things, or like men bunnies, men with bunny heads. Anyway, go on the site and check it out. It's Mad Rabbits by Neil Carey, and it's absolutely fantastic. And most of the shots were shot around Northern Ireland. You can see some of the beautiful scenery, but also see some of the madness that comes forth from his mind to make these. Truly are really, really good photos. Something a bit healthier was Slim's Healthy Kitchen, which finally got to go and try out. Went for Sunday brunch. The food was delicious. It sounds dubious at the start. A healthy kitchen, when you go out to eat, generally it's not for health food, but this is health food, like with a difference. Like you still get fries, stuff like that there, and you still get burgers, but perhaps they're burgers made with leaner meat, or there's more seasoning in them. And the other thing that it caters to is if you're on a particular diet, if you're on, I guess, say Weight Watchers or Slimming World, you can tell them and they can tell you stuff that's on it. If you're a bodybuilder, they'll suggest meals that are high in protein. If you're working out for athletics, cardio, stuff like that there, they'll help you through that there. But the food's delicious as well. I end up having the weird combination of asparagus, eggs and smoked cod, which sounds weird, but it was really nice. And everything was done really well. The fish was really light. The asparagus had a bit of bite to it, but none of the bitterness if it's overcooked. The eggs were poached really, really well with a nice runny centre. So that's up on the Lisburn Road, but they are opening up, I think it's this month, they're opening up in Victoria Square, just to the side where there used to be a nail bar opposite the centre. So that's something to look out for. Ben Brazil was another one we went to, which is a churrasqueira.
Churrasqueria?
Yeah, which is like a Brazilian where they bring around loads of meat on swords and they cut it off at your table. So you basically just sit and eat a lot of meat. It's quite good. And they do it with a Bangladeshi twist. So they season it, some of the meat that way, and it's lovely. So it has that taste to it. And then they obviously have you can get rice and stuff like that there. And it was very good, yeah. It was nice. I take it
there's no vegetarian options?
Not really, no. They do really nice cinnamon pineapple, which is really good. And they come and slice it off. And I actually said that was one of my favourite parts, which is weird because in a restaurant where you're eating 99% meat, the one thing that's not meat to be like the nicest, you're like, that shouldn't be. A little bit more wrestling where WWE came, and I done this review for WWE on the site. It was a great show, although slightly lacking in star power. In that they had like John Cena was there, but other than that, that's like the only one of the old guard that you would probably know. The rest of them were kind of newbies. Antonio Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, these sort of ones. I did say that they're finally cotton on to the fact that you can't just come set up a ring and play loud music. You have to have screens. So they had 2 screens on the entrance, and they had a screen for the wrestlers to enter through and stuff like that. They didn't have that before, and a raised entrance stuff like that there. So they've upped their game that way. Just next time they need to bring more big name stars. The kids were certainly enjoying it. Every single person there seemed to have a John Cena or an Usos t-shirt here, like this, I don't know, like a tribal tag team. And then Adore Delano at the Kremlin.
This was actually believe it or not, my first time going to Kremlin. First thing, I think it's quite an oddly laid out club. I was quite surprised. Sort of lots of nooks and crannies and...
Cavernous?
Cavernous, yeah, definitely the word. But we went to see Adore Delano, runner-up of RuPaul's Drag Race. And if you've read the review, you can see that I'm a massive fan. Yeah, she was on about shortly after 1 o'clock in the morning.
And we have to say she.
She,
Having
yes.
watched one or two of these RuPaul...
Female pronouns.
Yes, they like to be called she
But,
instead of he.
Yeah, she was on, well, she's a prettier girl than...
Half of Belfast. Sorry.
But she was on like about 1:15 in the morning, which is again another odd situation. And she sang, I think 4 songs in total, 2 off her new album, Till Death Do Us Party, and 2 covers as well. And overall, it was really, really good atmosphere. Everyone was out to have a good time, as you'd expect. Everything was over about 2 o'clock, and which left an hour of partying again until the Kremlin closed. But
until death do you party. Luckily, no, we did die.
Well,
so we sent one of our reviewers, Liam Clark. We sent him out. This is like the second thing he's reviewed for us, because generally it's myself and Laura do all the reviews. And he went to review Escobar at Stiff Kitten. They had their EP launch there. They also had Loris supporting them, and Loris is like an up and coming kind of electronic rock female fronted band that I had heard about and seen a bit, and there was great hype for them. He seemed to enjoy them. He's a bit harder to please than both of us as well. He can be quite pernickety about what he likes, but he was impressed by Loris and also by Escobar. Did you watch the video for Escobar, Laura?
no, I did not.
Unbelievable. I did watch the video. It's great. It's like a rock video where they're rocking out, but then they have like these people with weird heads on dancing, and it sounds like it shouldn't work, but it does work really well. I don't know who made the video actually, but it came to our attention, and having done the single review, go on Facebook and look for, I think it's Escobar Official or Escobar UK. Anyway,
Escobar UK.
Escobar UK. Next up, part of our Northern Ireland, the viral section of our site, we had 3 Irish guys dancing around the world. These are 3 guys from a site called The World, WIRLD, and they took a year to put this together, and basically they're doing an Irish jig all around the world. So I think it's 23 different countries, and so far it's got over 110,000 views. And their mission was to bring like a little bit of Ireland, the Emerald Isle, around the world. I think they've done it. And then one of the last things I done this month was I went to see Stephen McCorry Trio and No Oil Paintings at Voodoo. I've seen No Oil Paintings before, about 6 months ago, and they're really great. They're kind of like bluegrass Americana. They stand in a line, and there's a banjo, acoustic, 2 acoustic guitars, a bass, no drummer, and they kind of harmonise and kind of Oh Brother We're Out There kind of thing. And they're really good. They sounded just as good. They done like a Dubliners tune that I haven't played in a while, and that got a really good response. And then the Stephen McCorry Trio came on. Brilliant. Again, like a young Van Morrison. I think that's the best way of describing it. It's kind of lounge music, but that like undersells it, because it's like so much more than that. But it's that kind of easy listening, but with a certain gravitas. If you listen to any of this, if you listen to it with your eyes shut, you would think it's a much older guy than it is singing. Stephen McCorry seemed to be quite young to me, but his voice depicts a man with more world experience than what I saw on stage, and they put on a great show. They did a cover of Sex Bomb, which the crowd was into as well. Next up was Villa and Discurso, or Via and Discurso at the Mac.
We went to see this. It's part of the hashtag Chilogy, as you'll see all over the Mac, which is a series of Chilean plays or productions, and there's also a lot of other sort of Chile-based events going on around the Mac as well.
And it's Chilean, because I was saying Chilean, and then everybody started saying Chilean, and I thought, all right, I have to sort this out. I can't be going around saying Chilean.
Chilean. and we went to see the first two plays, and it was a double bill, and these were both by Prime Cut Productions. We weren't really sure what we were going to see at all. There was a couple of videos up on the Mac sort of showcasing the themes and things that you'd be seeing, but we weren't really sure. But as we were entering the theatre, they told us that we weren't allowed to leave and then come back in. There'd be no readmittance during the show. So that was sort of a bit...
Well, we immediately ran away, went and got some water, and Laura went and peed. And as we were going in, everybody else, as we were coming up the stairs, we saw everybody else coming in, and the guy was telling them, and as soon as he told everybody ran away and either went and got something to drink or went for a pee.
Exactly.
So everybody obviously panicked and went, right, this is what I have to do before I go in. An hour and a half.
An hour and a half having to sit in the same place is quite daunting. But as we went in, the theatre was sort of an amphitheatre style arrangement. There was sort of big bench chairs round in a circle, and in the middle there was just a table and some chairs. Still not really sure what we were letting ourselves in for, but Villa was, well, it was my favourite of the two, and it was, the way it unfolded, you weren't really sure what was happening until the very end. Nothing was really introduced or explained. You just were in the middle of a situation and you had to sort of figure out what was happening yourself, which is a really interesting way to approach it. The story is basically the Villa or Villa Grimaldi in Chile was a torture house during Pinochet's reign. I don't know if you call it a reign if you're not a king, but it was a lot of bad things happened there, and these three women had to decide how to sort of either memorialise it or erase it from their entire memory, and it sort of brought a lot of things up about over here. Like
the I had said about the Maze prison, about people deciding what to do that, because they were trying to decide, should it be like a replica of what it went before, a House of Horrors as I kept calling it, should it be a museum, should it just be like a contemplative space, should they do anything with it, because apparently since it had been razed to the ground, people had planted flowers, stuff like that there, so they were kind of going through that there, and we talking afterwards, and I'd said I thought it really resonated with kind of the Maze, like what to do with the Maze prison and stuff like that there.
It was definitely, it was really interesting actually, and at the start I thought, well, these plays are about Chile, and I didn't know if I'd be able to relate, and I don't actually know a lot about Chile.
No, I know nothing
at all.
So I sort of realised that you were trying to work out what, you just had to presume what they were saying was real.
Yeah. Because as a story, as a play, it could have been fictional, but sort of your basic knowledge, you know that these things happened, and it sort of brought a lot of questions up, as I said, that you could relate to problems and questions that we've had over here in our political landscape, and I think that was the point, really. I think that's why these plays worked so well over here.
It was all women as well.
Yeah, the cast was entirely women.
And then the second part of that was, after that you got a break, and then the next part was Discurso, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and it was basically the Chilean Prime Minister, who I guess from watching the play was quite left wing when she was brought in, and probably didn't meet the expectations of people, and she was sort of waxing lyrical about how it's harder to actually do the thing than it is to say you're going to do the thing, and this was like her closing speech.
I think the whole thing was quite it was quite frank and quite honest, and I think the point was that she was sort of saying things that you wouldn't expect your regal and sober leader to be saying, but that you know that they're thinking. So it was quite a fresh approach as well, and she was saying a lot of things that you would definitely be thinking, but they would never sort of have the guts to say. I think overall, even with sort of not a great knowledge of their political landscape, it was entertaining, and it sort of brought up questions.
And just going on from that there, the next part in the trilogy or trilogy is called Tejas Verdes, and it starts on Tuesday the 3rd of June and runs till Saturday the 7th of June. Or no, I think it carries on to the 14th of June, sorry.
It looks really good, actually.
It's in the main theatre this time, and they've got a purpose-built set, and I don't think you sit down, you walk like under it and over it and through it, and which I always think is much more interesting.
It's more immersive. I've definitely watched the videos that are up on the website. They're on ours and on the Macs as well. They sort of show a wee sort of a mock-up of what it'll look like.
With the set designer, yeah.
You can see the stage sort of up above you, and you walk around below it with the play as it progresses, which will just be, I think, a really interesting experience.
And you can see all 3 of those plays in a oneer, as we call it, on the Saturday the 7th and Saturday the 14th of June. And leading on from that there, also I went to a coffee masterclass at the Mac. That was on the morning of that there, where I was talked through how to make coffee and the difference in tasting and all that sort of stuff. So afterwards I had a quick interview with Sharon, who is the head of the canteen at the Mac. And you can have a listen to that now.
I'm Sharon Wright, and I'm director of the catering operation run by JRS Catering and trading as Canteen at the Mac.
We've just been here today and we've been taking part in Coffee Masterclass as part of the Coffee Week at the Mac. So can you just tell us a little bit about your coffees here?
Coffee was very important to me whenever I come to the Mac, and I benchmarked that we wanted to be one of the best coffee houses in Belfast. We've worked very hard and developed different master classes. We started off large, but now we have fine-tuned the master classes to approximately 6 persons, so that the people coming along can interact and learn a wee bit more and taste about the coffee and have more time with the experts, and to be able to produce the same kind of coffees at home.
Whenever you're selecting coffee, what do you look for?
Okay, my personal taste in coffee, I did the cupping for the beans that we use here at the Mac. So my personal taste in coffee is something that's not too sharp, that's easy drinkable.
Tell us about the systems that you have here for whenever you order one of the specialty coffees, the Chemex and the AeroPress.
Okay, we started off with the Chemex system, and we had 2 different roasted beans that we used for that, but now we've moved into the next stage, which is our AeroPress and our Chemex. So the staff have all been fully trained in the Chemex and AeroPress's process, so that the customers can interact with the staff and learn. It takes a longer time to produce those coffees, but the outcome is worthwhile waiting on.
And you were recently voted one of the top coffee houses in Belfast.
Yes, we were listed as one of the 50 top coffee houses in the UK by The Independent, which was an accolade that we were really happy about because it was one of my benchmarks. So it's moving in now. There is quite a lot of good coffee houses in Belfast, so one of the best is good enough at the moment to be the best will be our next benchmark.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what stuff you've got coming up?
Yes, for the summer we have our Taste of Summer programme. We will have a food festival out in the square the 9th and 10th of August. Then we'll go into Belfast Restaurant Week the 4th to 11th of October, and then we'll have Taste of Christmas programme. So there will be different coffee masterclasses included in that, and all the details will be up on the maclive.com.
And now we're going to look at the month ahead, starting off with music news. We still don't have a jingle for that, so if you're a jingle maker, I don't know who Belfast's premier jingle maker is, but if you are, send us something in because it's got to be better than that. Laura?
Over to music news for the month ahead. I'm going to see McBusted, or by the time this is out I will have seen McBusted, and hopefully have rave reviews about that, reliving my teenage youth. Coming up is just to mention the World Cup starts this month apparently. I don't know when, I don't really care.
This is not music news.
I know, but I'm going to mention the
Okay,
thing.
carry on, the songs of the World Cup.
There's a point.
Listeners, somebody has to keep Laura on point here because she could go off on a tangent at any moment.
Any moment. Anyway, as I was saying, for the World Cup, the Wonder Villains have released their single Zola as a free download on SoundCloud. So
It is great.
if you just go onto their SoundCloud, you can just get the download link there.
I like it, and admittedly didn't realise till very recently that Zola is like a famous footballer.
You just thought it was a funny word.
I still am just guessing that because I've seen like you said about the World Cup and all. Do you know this for a fact? That's a footballer?
Yeah.
Oh, it is, okay.
Well, I didn't know it until I heard this
Frankie
song.
Zola or something, is that?
I
don't know.
No idea.
I never watched the Winter
It's-
Olympics and
it's a
enjoy
really
that
good
song as
song.
well, so...
I prefer their stuff about TV. I can relate to that. So well, apparently that's about football, so it's a free download for the World Cup. And also the Wonder Villains have their debut album coming out. It's called Rocky, named after Rocky O'Reilly.
Is it?
Yes, it is. You might think it's named after was it a film?
I thought it was named after the film because of their love of sort of cliched films, but Rocky O'Reilly, there you go.
I only found that out today actually. They have a history section on their Tumblr where they sort of explain their first few
Thank
gigs
God.
and stuff. So it's named after Rocky O'Reilly. He's No Dancing Records and
Malibu Shark Attack.
yeah, we talked about earlier. So that album's out on the 23rd of June. Also, Rhinos have a video out for their song Rhinos. It was filmed in T13.
It's a catchy title.
Rhinos.
Well,
Just keep repeating it. People will catch on.
It is a catchy tune, and although we know none of the words, you will sing along to it, but not know the words. You just do the and then that's it.
It's good. I saw someone comment below it saying it's their alarm tone. It will make a perfect alarm tone for waking up in the morning.
It's that kind of, because it's only 2-piece, so it's like kind of, it's guitar, drums, and then Paul Curry sings. I think
She sings as well. Laura Taunton, I think her name is.
Kind of like the White Stripes, but more like
It is
DIY punk, balls to the wall kind of thing. So and I mean like old British punk, not American new punk. So it's good. It's worth checking out.
Other thing is, we'll be reviewing Mere Moth's debut or solo EP. It's called You Grew Up, I think. It's 17-year-old Patrick Wright. So just be having a listen to that. Getting that up on the site.
And speaking of EPs as well, Aquatramp are releasing their new EP, which is really grandly called Westworld Talebearers of the Occident. And that's on Thursday the 5th of June at Voodoo. It's £4 in. And also, I've seen Aquatramp before. They're really good. They're good live and stuff like that. They've been doing loads of gigs, so getting better. And they're getting support on that by Escobar, who we had said about review earlier. And we have a tune from Escobar, which is their latest single, which is Sirens.
Walks in a bit to impress, and she's biting her lip in a state of undress. Ooh, it's a shame how I set up and play out my game. With a wink and a smile, we can leave for a while. The best of the scene, it can swallow you whole. And my hands, if you let, they would happily roam. Ooh, on your waist. And I'll set up a cute sense of taste. With a wink and a smile and a nod to the time. We don't have to care for me, but the stress. wish love lost on an enemy. I wouldn't wish life on anyone. I wouldn't wish love lost on.
And that was Escobar there, and we're still in music news.
That's all that I really have, but I know you said Triggerman have a new release.
Triggerman have a new release which is out for free on their Bandcamp, and they have an EP coming out later this month as well. The new song is called The Origins of Man, and the crux of the song is that he believes that man come from space. So if that's your thing, get into it. If you just like riffs, get into it. If you've never heard it before, just give it a try because it's really, really good. It's on the glass Goldberry a couple of times and really good. Also this month on the 6th of June we have the Voodoo Fiend Club number 11 come back, and that's kind of like your more punk metal night sort of I think the Misfits and all that sort of stuff, and that's doing its 11th turn at Voodoo in the centre of Belfast. Also Belfast City Blues Festival coming up end of the month, 27th of June to 29th of June. BelfastCityBlues.com for all the info on that. Kaz Hawkins playing that there, and just loads of different people on all over the city. The Cooth have an EP launch on the 27th of June at the Sub Bar in the Students' Union. Support from the Crossfire Hurricanes. And that's a Shiznay Productions, who are the ones who do all of the sort of local band gigs all around Belfast. So check out Shiznay on Facebook and you'll keep up to date with the rest of that there. And then finally, the big bad boys of metal are back. Slayer at the Limelight on the 30th of June at 8 PM. That's quite an early start time, but that's quite decent. And last time the tickets for that sold out in 3 minutes on Ticketmaster.ie. I don't know if there's tickets left for that. I don't have tickets at the minute, but Slayer are a brilliant live metal band, and if you haven't seen them you should, because they are very important, and if you have seen them, well then you'll want to go back.
The other thing is the Open House Festival starts this month as well. It runs from the 18th to 26th of June, and I think it's across Belfast and across Bangor as well. There's all sorts of sort of local music acts, and there's some free and some paid in, and I'm sure there's something for everyone.
And that is the end of what people are calling all around this fair country of ours, music news. Again, if you do jingles, help us out. Now we're going to take a look at other stuff that's going on around Belfast in the month of June that is not music related but may contain some music. So we're going to start off with quite a big deal that's happening, and that is MCM Comic Con in the King's Hall from the 7th to 8th of June. This is a massive comic book convention, but also for other things like all types of nerdery. It's a big deal. It's always been one of the biggest conventions in the UK. I'm not sure Europe what else, but it's the one that I've always heard of, and it's finally coming to Belfast. They had announced Dublin first, and everybody got quite excited. Then they announced Belfast, so they've got all sorts of comic book artists, writers. There'll be cosplay, people dressed up, and the two things that I would be excited about is Chris Barry and Robert Llewellyn, aka Rimmer and Crichton from Red Dwarf, are doing, I don't know if it's a Q&A or a seminar or whatever, but they're doing that on both days, and you can take the kids, family friendly, all that sort of stuff. The next thing moving on to is Wonderfrog, who have their now monthly date on the 3rd of June. At 8 PM, it's a $5 in the green room at the Black Box.
We've seen these a couple of them actually, and it's always a good night. It's improv comedy, so you sort of suggest things, situations, or...
Whose line is it anyway, is the way to describe it?
To people
if you're old
of
enough.
a certain age.
Yeah, if you don't, you shout random things and they sort of act them out in comedic situations. There's reviews on the Past About. If you just go and search for Wonderfrog, you'll see that there.
But yeah, it's always a good night, and they usually add a few members, or the members change and switch around. So, and obviously your suggestions change, so it's always a bit different, and you never really see the same thing twice.
Speaking of the Black Box, they're also having later on the 9th of June a thing called Right Fight, which I think sounds really interesting, and they had done this as part of Culture Night before, and it's kind of, they get different writers or people who just are happy enough to write, and they give them suggestions or restrictions, and they have to write the best story they can in time limits, usually like 4 minutes, something like that there, and then they read them and see which one's the best. One of the last ones they done last time was they had to write a story with like the letter E, and which would be very tricky. And the ultimate winners of it were I think it was a 9-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy. So I doubt there'll be kids this time since it's in the black box at night, but it should be good, and obviously went well enough. They've been tweaking it and stuff. Apparently it's all went well enough that they're able to do this, and that's part of the Belfast Book Festival.
Yep, and that festival runs from the 9th to the 15th of June. I think it's over 80 events in 1 week across Belfast. I think their sort of main hub is the Crescent Arts Centre, but there's a few other venues as well. And there's sort of all kinds of events, from poetry slams to haiku workshops and Q&As with writers and journalists, and a lot of things like that. But there's a lot of events, so you'll definitely find something worth going to.
Brendan Burns is coming to the Sunflower as part of their comedy night on the 13th of June. That should be, he's an Australian comic. That should be a good night. They keep getting really good names for the comedy night at the Sunflower, considering it only holds 50 people upstairs. It's usually an intimate place to have any sort of gig or anything like that there. I haven't actually been to see anything. I've been upstairs, like being shown around, stuff like that there, but I haven't actually got to see anything in the Sunflower yet. But I really like the room and is in it, and it'd be good to finally go and check out some of the comedy nights they have. I think that's one of the bigger names they have, so it's on a Friday night as opposed to a Wednesday when they normally do it. Speaking of comedy as well, Voice Box Comedy is on at the Loft, which seems to be a new performance space that's opened in Belfast, 99 North Street, I believe it is. And it's kind of like a multi-purpose area. It is an actual loft. They've just announced that it's tickets only because it's selling so well. So if you go onto Facebook and look for Voice Box, you can get all the details for that there. But that's on the 20th of June, and should be something different. They've got like 5 or 6 performers, and it's a different place to go and see something different in.
And also we were saying about the Lego Brick City exhibition as well before. They actually are holding, it's called Big Build Weekend on the 23rd or 22nd and 23rd of June, where you can sort of submit your own Lego creations and they maybe get displayed. If you just go onto the type in Lego Brick City or go onto the Titanic Belfast website, you can see the details there.
And finally, PW return on Sunday the 26th to the Holiday Inn. It's a £5 if you buy your tickets from Fresh Garbage. It's £7 on the door, and like I say, the last show was pretty shocking, so you should probably come check this out every 2 months. You putting these on, follow the storylines, get into it, bring the kids. Like I say, compared to the WWE, the value for money is enormous, and it's just as entertaining a show. You're much more up and personal, and they're always putting on a great show. I haven't been to one bad one since they formed as PWU.
There's also the Pick and Mick Festival at the end of the month. It's the 28th and 29th of June, and that's on in the Mac. It's sort of a 2-day festival of local theatre and dance and that kind of thing.
It's kind of a bit of everything, is it?
Yeah, I think sort of local production companies sort of showcase their work, and it's sort of stage readings and things like that. And then, as far as I know, maybe later on then the things that were quite popular maybe come back to the Mac and they do a longer run, sort of a taster.
And that is us for the second ever PastieCast. We now are on iTunes, and hopefully they get through the processing of it, whatever it is, a little bit quicker than they did last month. You can go back and listen to last month's if you'd like to. We had an interview with Deanie Darko, and we had some music from local bands, stuff like that there, so it might be worth giving half an hour of your time and giving a listen to. If you'd like to contact us about doing any reviews or about advertising on the site, contact us at Chris at PastieBap, and Laura
at Laura@PastieBap.com.
For any other information, go on our Facebook PastieBap, Twitter is PastieBap1, and of course the website is PastieBap.com, and all the information you need is there, all the links are there. And until we see you next month, that is NI and a podcast. Welcome to the PastieCast. News, reviews and previews from around Northern Ireland. This is NI in a nutshell.